don't deprive yourself of socializing. See your friends, see your family. Don't deprive yourself of eating out, enjoying meals, enjoying things. Life is about making memories. If you're being deprived of the things that are really important to you and really good for your mental health, you're not going to achieve the results you're hoping to achieve. And that may have been why you may have fallen off in the past. So it's the start of the new year and it's the first video, which means many people are likely getting into fitness or rebuilding their previous interest in fitness, because obviously we get to the new year, people then typically set new goals, which do often stem from health related incentives, such as getting healthier, building muscle, losing fat, getting to the gym, things like that. And with that, people are going to be going to YouTube and other platforms to look for some information and guidance and tips regarding how to get from A to B and stay on track during this whole new year, new me period, which is fantastic. You're trying to figure out how to better achieve your goals, which I respect. But there's a lot of confusing information out there. And I figured what I do is use Mia's video here as a catalyst for conversation, where we're going to talk about her workout. I'm going to talk about some good and maybe not so great things about it. Then we're also going to relate to the title of the video regarding building muscle and losing fat. And we're going to break down 5 different sections. Number 1 is going to be goals. Number 2, workouts, how to work out, how often to work out, things like that. Number 3, nutrition. Number 4, activity. And number 5, balance. And if at any point throughout this entire video you actually just learn something from the video or appreciate something I'm saying, then I would very much appreciate it if you did subscribe to the channel, but there's never any pressure. So the first sector to cover is going to be goals. You need to identify what's realistic. Obviously there's a whole kind of SMART goal approach, that's absolutely fine. But honestly, don't overcomplicate things. Identify and ask yourself, what do you want to achieve this year and when do you want to achieve it by? That could be, I just want to work out, I want to build muscle, I want to lose fat. Fantastic. Goal is sorted. What's step 2? The workouts. You'll note Mia is going to do a barbell squat. This is something that most people probably know and what most people assume they need to do. You do not need to barbell squat to build big legs. If you are going to barbell squat, do it properly. This wider stance where she's almost kicking her bum back and adopting quite an aggressive lower back arching here without actually hitting depth is probably not what you want to do. In reality, what you want to do when squatting is trying to get as low as you can comfortably. What Mia would probably benefit from here is bringing her feet in a little bit closer and sinking that bar a little bit lower, thus getting her bottom closer to the floor, in which we would typically say arse to grass. Not only is it going to be better for the quads, it's also going to be a better habit to learn when adopting a full range of motion, which will carry over to a lot of other movements too. Then we flip over to a barbell RDL, Romanian deadlift, and this is a great movement, absolute fine, banging. She's actually doing this really well. You'll note how she's kicking her bum back, and when the hips stop traveling backwards, she comes back up. More range of motion isn't necessarily better on this movement. What we want to do is more relevant range of motion, because once the hips can no longer travel backwards and you just go down, a lot of the lower back will be taking over, and that's probably not what you want. You want to keep emphasis towards the bum and the hamstrings, and to do that, those hips need to be traveling backwards. She's adopting a good neutral spine, so the back is relatively flat, although it doesn't need to be, it needs to be consistent. A neutral spine is a good habit to learn to begin with. Then we go into calf raises. Quite frankly, for most people, you probably don't need to train calves unless you really want to. It's more of an aesthetic thing if this is relevant to your goals. All I would say is the big thing with calf raises, I look at 2 key points. A straighter leg variation, as she's doing here, or you can use a leg press if you don't have this machine. When you get to the bottom position where you stretch, where she was there, I'm a big believer in holding that stretch portion for a good 3 seconds or so, as people will argue that's probably the most important portion of the rep when looking at building calf muscles. We move on to a leg press, an absolutely fine movement. A lot of confusion may indicate that a leg press and squats do similar things because they target similar muscles. They do target similar muscles. They target them at different lengths, which means peak tension is going to be at different portions of the rep, which means it's a different stimulus. So you can definitely do both if you want to, but you don't have to. When doing a leg press, we simplify 2 things. If you want to target your quads, we go low and narrow with your stance and try and get as low as possible, as much knee bend as possible. If you want to target more of your glutes, you go high and narrow and try and limit to around 90 degrees at the knees. Anything more than that's probably not necessary. A leg extension is one of the few movements I think a lot of people need to do. And the reason why I say that is because the quad is comprised of 4 muscles. And one of those muscles is called the rec fem. And that rec fem isn't sufficiently worked through any other movement outside of either a leg extension or a sissy squat, a movement in which the only movement occurring is going to be knee extension, which is what we see here, where the knee is just doing that. There's no hip movement, anything, it's just knees. So we want that. A hamstring curl, again, is another movement you probably need to do as well. The hamstrings are also comprised of many muscles, and to work all of them, A hinge pattern like an RDL is probably important, and a leg curl pattern like a lying, seated or standing leg curl is going to be fundamental. Without doing both of these, you're going to end up neglecting an aspect of the hamstrings, be that a muscle, whatever it may be. So these are both movements I think are really important. And they're also really easy to learn, and they also carry a low risk of injury. Direct ab work like hanging leg raises, you can if you want to, but you don't need to. The thing, if you are going to do ab work, what you want to focus on is the stomach here. Essentially reducing the range of motion between your pelvis and your sternum. So just leg raising is fine, but the abs aren't heavily utilized there, the hip flexors are. To actually bring the abs in, you want a bit of a crunch motion. So imagine this, but trying to kick even higher and almost trying to knee yourself in the head. Obviously, don't actually knee yourself in the head, that's not going to be very nice, but you get the drill. And then we finish off with cardio. And shockingly, you don't need to do cardio in the traditional sense if you don't want to. When we look at workouts, I'll simplify it like this. Most people can achieve incredible results if they do 3 full body workouts per week. The workouts don't need to be longer than 45 minutes to an hour maybe. I look at, let's say, 6 exercises per workout, where I look at maybe 2 lower body movements, 2 push movements, be that chest, triceps or shoulders, 2 pull movements, being back or biceps, 2 to 3 sets of each, you're fine. And we flip over to nutrition. A couple of things. Firstly, you can enjoy foods you want to enjoy and still achieve what you want to achieve, be that building muscle or losing fat. I would definitely say the most effective means of doing so for most people is going to be tracking calories, because then you have a better idea of what is going on. But then you can simply do that by downloading something like MyFitnessPal, and that should give you a really great breakdown just by scanning the barcode of the foods you're eating, or just search it in their search bar. On top of that, what I do is this. Do not worry too much about your carb intake. Do not worry too much about your fat intake if you don't want to. Just make sure you're having enough of both, but really focus on staying within your calorie number, wherever that is, be that a surplus or a deficit, whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, and also aim for a protein target. 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight to, let's say, 1.2 grams of protein is fine. I usually hover between 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's plenty for most people. If you are slightly heavier and you feel like your body fat percentage is quite a bit higher, what I would look to do is a gram per pound of your ideal body weight. So if you weigh 220 pounds and your body fat percentage is relatively high and you want to weigh 180 pounds, 180 is your goal. Whenever you go out to a restaurant, whenever you go out to a meal, one of the things that can be really helpful when not overeating, if that's a concern you have, is front loading protein. Eat your protein first, as that's the most satiating macronutrient, which means that's the one that's going to keep you fuller for longer, thus potentially limiting appetite and potentially preventing you from maybe going overboard if that's a concern, and helping you stay more on track. And this is where most people struggle. They work out fine, which is great, but the majority of people will struggle or fail because they don't understand nutrition, when it really is as simple as calories in versus calories out. Which actually brings us to the calories out part. I mentioned earlier you don't need to do cardio if you don't want to, and that's true. You can achieve incredible results working out 3 times a week, tracking your calories and protein, and doing more steps. If you currently do 6,000 steps per day, do 8,000. Eat less if you want to lose weight, eat more if you want to gain weight, work out and do 10,000 steps per day. If you do all of those things and drink enough water, you'll probably be okay. Wake up in the morning, go for a walk. After each meal, if you have the time, go for a 5-10 minute walk to aid with digestion. Small things like that. Or at the end of the evening when you have time, or on lunch break, or with your family, whatever it may be, with your dog, go for a nice long walk. Get those steps in. You do not need to run. You do not need to do cardio in the conventional sense. You can just walk, and that's more than enough for most people. And on top of that, balance. If you don't enjoy what you're doing and you can't stick to it, you're never going to get there. Don't deprive yourself of socializing. See your friends, see your family. Don't deprive yourself of eating out, enjoying meals, enjoying things. Life is about making memories. If you're being deprived of the things that are really important to you and really good for your mental health, you're not going to achieve the results you're hoping to achieve. And that may have been why you may have fallen off in the past. And also, you have a bad day, you slip up, you go over your calories, you miss a workout. It's not the end of the world. Go again tomorrow. It's a new day. Weekly calories are more important than daily calories. At the end of the day, one bad day and once in a blue moon is not going to be the end of the world. One thing I would say is don't overconsume too much content online, because there's a lot of confusing information out there. And if you have any questions about anything, please do just drop me a message on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Harry_TFNL, and it's always linked in the description below. If you have any questions, send them to me and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Those are just my thoughts and opinions, and I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below. So tell me, what's your New Year's resolution? Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my waffle about the new year. And thank you for tolerating the video.